Hello and welcome to today's video. This is a really exciting one. This is my quarter 2 statistics video. So during this video I'm going to be talking about all of the bookish reading statistics that I have for the months of April, May and June. So basically anything that I've read during those 3 months is going to be shown with various statistics in this video, and I'm really excited about it. I did do this for quarter 1 of this year, so quarter 1 is linked up above if you didn't catch that one, but this is basically the same thing but looking at quarter 2, and I'm really excited about it. I would first of all like to say just a quick little thing. If my mouth or teeth or tongue look blue at all, all's good. I'm not dying. I stupidly, right before filming this, drank an entire blue raspberry slush, so yeah, not my best timing, but this is the time I've got to film and I am a little blue. So yeah, let's get into the actual statistics now. So for all of the statistics I am using Corpile version 4. That is where all of my data is put into and the graphs are made from. I'm using that for everything this quarter, I think. I don't think there's anything except for that I'm using. Oh, I made a quick little spreadsheet for my ratings, but except for that it's all from Corpile. So I have the video explaining that down below. It is made by G at Book Roast, and I'll have that link down below because that's where I get all these lovely graphs from. I've not made this. It would take me weeks and weeks and weeks to do this without having Corpile already there and sorting it out for me. And if I'm looking down at all, that's because I have the graphs that you're seeing on the screen. I need to look at them like that, so apologies if I'm looking down at all. So first of all, books read during the second 3 months of the year. So during April, May and June I read a total of 54 books, which is absolutely amazing. Like, that's so many. That's considerably more than quarter 1, and yeah, I'm happy with that. I feel like overall that it's been pretty good reading as well, so yeah, I am really happy with that. And I did meet my Goodreads goal. I actually would have met it with only this quarter. My Goodreads goal for this year was 52 books, so I actually would have met it just for this quarter, but I actually got it halfway through. So very happy about that. And then if you want to see it spread over the months, in April I read 21, in May I read 19, and in June I read 14, and that is kind of how it looks spread out. We can also see in a very similar sort of graph the pages read each month, and you can see for this, even though I read the most books in April, it actually wasn't my most amount of pages. My most amount of pages was read during May, and the total amount of pages that I've read during the second quarter of the year is 18,209, which yeah, just I don't know. I have no words. That's a crazy amount of pages, and I don't know, like, I'm happy with it. I just don't know how I've done it. I don't imagine this will be replicated again. It seems like a hell of a lot. Then we can also look at book length, so to kind of see how we've got those pages. This graph shows the book lengths, so a lot between 50 and 100 pages, which isn't that surprising. I've read a lot of shorter books, but then most of the books you'll see are between kind of 350 to 500 pages, but we have quite a lot over 500 pages as well, and we have one book that was between 850 and 900. So like, that's a lot. It's a lot. So yeah, really happy with how it all looks. I don't really care or analyse book length. Like, I don't look at a book's length before picking it up, but I don't know, it's an interesting graph to look at and I think it's pretty cool. Then if we look at my overall star ratings, I can pop that on screen now. This looks pretty similar to quarter 1, but with a lot more 3 stars. So I read an additional 19 books in quarter 2 to quarter 1, and it just looks like the majority of those have gone in that 3 star kind of like middle of the road, like alright book, but like nothing special sort of thing. So yeah, I'm glad I'm reading more. I do wish that the additional books I'd read had also increased those 4 and 5 stars considerably more as well though. Then in my quarter 1 stats I also spoke about the books that I DNF. Unfortunately I haven't completely kept on track of this. I normally keep track of my DNFs in the back of my reading journal, and there's been a few times where I've DNF books and I've just made a quick note on my phone in like a few notes apps, and I haven't been through them properly. So once I've transferred them over I will have a much better idea, but I know that I've definitely DNF 5 books during quarter 2. I think it's probably closer to 8 once I've transferred it over. I bet I'm missing quite a few. I DNF'd quite a bit in June, so I definitely need to get that over, but I reckon it's going to be around 8 books that I DNF during the month. I will do, at the very end of this year, I will do a video where I'll go through all of the books that I've DNF'd and like kind of why, because it is for really various reasons, and I only count them as a DNF if I've like genuinely tried to read it. Like, you know, if I've tried the first chapter of a book and decided it's not for me, that doesn't count. Like, it's like I've tried. So yeah, I'll do that at the end of the year. So let's move into more statistics and more graphs. Let's go for reading method. So not too shocking. It seems to definitely be a bit of a trend, but I am gonna cancel my Kindle Unlimited subscription soon, because as I'm sure everyone knows by now if you've watched more than a few videos on my channel, my big goal for 2024 is to reduce my physical TBR and reduce the books that I own, and the Kindle Unlimited subscription is not helping with that. So we have 44.4% of the books that I've read during quarter 2 being ebooks, we have 25.9% being physical, 20.4% being audio, and then 9.3% being a mixture, so either audio and ebook or audio and physical, or maybe even physical and ebook. Well, that rarely happens. Then we have genre, and it's not that surprising that the biggest genre right now is fantasy romance. Fantasy romance is 21 of the books that I read during quarter 2, followed quite closely behind by fantasy. This is really interesting for me. Like, I'm not surprised that those two are the biggest slices. However, this is the opposite way round to how it was in quarter 1. In quarter 1 I read way more fantasy than fantasy romance, whereas in quarter 2 I've read way more fantasy romance to fantasy. So I'm really intrigued. Obviously we've still got 2 more quarters to go at the end of this year. Like, how's it gonna look? Like, what's gonna like take it? I don't know, and I'm really excited to find out. Other notable genres, I guess, are poetry with 4 books, cozy fantasy with 3 books, non-fiction with 3 books, and then every other genre I've only read 1 or 2 books in. So that is biography, climate fiction, urban fantasy, magical realism, romance, mystery, horror, fiction, and science fiction. So yeah, there's quite a few more genres in there as well, and yeah, I'm happy with this. I like to read a variety of genres, but fantasy is definitely my main genre. Then we can also look at the age range of the different books that I've read. So I would say that I primarily read adult, but it's very much like slowly shifting that way, and that definitely shows in this pie chart. So adult takes up 48.1%, new adult is 35.2%. Obviously that's not really the case if I'm not reading those like Kindle Unlimited self-published books, because new adult isn't really an age category that's massively in the traditional publishing space yet. I only really see it when I'm reading those independently published ones. And then 13% was young adult, and 3.7% is middle grade, which was 2 books during quarter 2. And yeah, I still do enjoy middle grade. I know what I like, and if I pick it up I'm pretty much guaranteed to like it. Like, I'm quite good at reading the synopsis of middle grade and reading, you know, a few pages and knowing if it's for me. Young adult, I still own a lot of young adult, and honestly a lot of them I'm just getting rid of. Like, I'm trying it out and it's not for me anymore, which is why I need to get the TBR down, because my reading taste changes and then I end up with books that aren't any longer my reading taste. But yeah, I do still like young adult. I still do find like good stuff within the young adult age range. It's just getting less and less, and a lot of it I don't care about anymore, so I'm definitely pulling away from that. But I mean, I'm getting older, so not surprising. Then in terms of series versus standalone, I think this is looking pretty standard, to be honest. It's always quite a lot more series than standalone. So for quarter 2, standalone takes up 25.9% and series is 74.1%. If you'd asked me what my series reading is, I would say 70 to 90%, so that is right in that range, so not surprising at all. Then I also reread quite a bit during quarter 2. I had a couple of weeks where I really wasn't up for anything or up for reading, so I did rereading my favourite series to like get back into that, and I have been actively trying to finish some series, and unfortunately some series I read I don't remember anymore, so I've been rereading the first ones to finished series. No series are finished. So rereads are 29.6% of my reading, which isn't great for my lowering the TBR goal, which is the main goal that I am concentrating on this year. But overall, I've had a really good reading month, and obviously if I'm rereading a book, I've already enjoyed it once and enjoyed it enough to want to reread it. So definitely has made my reading pleasant. Okay, and then let's talk about the book content, kind of like statisticky bits. Book content I quite often look at or have some idea of what's going to be inside a book before I pick it up. Not always, but like normally have some sort of idea based on like tags on Goodreads or how it's being marketed. So in terms of LGBTQIA plus representation, 46.3% of the books that I read during Q2 had some sort of representation in them, which is great. Like, I'd like it to be higher, but it's higher than it has been previous, I think. And yeah, again, there's that. I'm not buying many new books at the moment. I'm trying to get through the TBR, so obviously a lot of the books I've purchased 8, 9, 10 years ago, and it wasn't as common to have representation in them. And obviously now I feel like the majority of books should. I don't know if they necessarily do, because I'm not really in the new release realm, like what I'm excited for, but I'm not very good at having like a big overview. But I don't see any reason why they wouldn't, so I guess I'll figure that out in maybe a couple of years when I'm ready to just start reading the new releases and not the ones on my TBR. Then we also have disability rep to look at, and disability representation was present in 29.6% of the books that I read, which is higher than it ever has been, I think, but still not great, honestly. Like, I'm not happy with that. Like, I personally think it should be higher. Like, the large majority of the books that I read, I don't see any reason why everyone shouldn't be represented, or like at least shine a light on like everyone as much as possible. I don't know, I don't get it, but it's definitely becoming more present. I'm definitely noticing it is in some of the newer books that I'm reading, like kind of the 2022, 2023, 2024 releases. Those are the ones that it seems to be most present in, which is really good, and it means that we are getting there and hopefully improving with that front as well. And then we have book format. So what sort of book am I picking up? The large majority of the books that I'm picking up are novels. This is 61.1%, followed, I mean, but the next biggest chunk by quite a bit, but still considerably smaller than it is for novel, is novella at 14.8%. And then I also read some graphic novels, some poems, some non-fiction, and even one short story. So quite a variety of book formats. I definitely like to read different things, but yeah, a standard novel is definitely where I'm like most likely to find a 5-star, I would say. It's definitely what I tend to lean towards and feel most confident knowing what I like in. Okay, and now let's look at the author stats. So honestly, I don't look at these, you know, unless I know who the author is. I don't really know much about authors before going into books, but I do always put them on my spreadsheet afterwards, and it is something that I'm interested in because I do feel like in the future it's something I should prioritise improving. Honestly, no matter what the statistics say, I'm not going to prioritise that for this year, because my main goal for this year is lowering my TBR, and like a lot of goals just don't align with that being such a major goal. But let's look at author stats. So 70.4% of the books that I've read during Q2 are written by women, which is not surprising. 3.7% of the books were written by a non-binary person, 7.4% were written by a man, and 18.5% were written by multiple authors. So for multiple authors, like, I don't try and separate, it's just multiple authors. It's the easiest way to do it, to be honest, and it might not be the perfect way to track it, but it's the way that works. So yeah, honestly, I don't mind reading primarily women. Like, I think that's where the majority of my high rated books go, but that is a very binary way of thinking, to be honest, and this should definitely be more varied and have a larger variety of people on it. It's not something that I'm particularly happy with, but I'm not really prioritising changing it this year. I think making sure that I read from a large variety of people, a large variety of backgrounds, is something I want to think more about when purchasing books. Yeah. And then 18.5% of the books that I've read during Q2 were written by BIPOC authors, which is great, but it definitely could be higher. Again, I feel like all of these graphs should just be as varied and as evenly distributed as possible, but it's not always easy to do that. One, because I'm reading my TBR this year, and two, it does require more work than it should. Like, when you go into a bookshop, you should be able to buy from everyone, but like, yeah, it's not always like that. So it's definitely something I want to work on, and definitely something that I want to think about more when it comes to purchasing books. books, like who's writing them, who's like doing this, and why are different books being pushed at me. I don't know, like it's definitely something I don't have the answers for, but I think I became very aware of it when I looked at my Q1 statistics, that it was quite low, and yeah, I just feel like I should have more people and a larger variety of people represented in my reading. Like, that is something that's important to me, so I will definitely look into that in the future. Honestly, not this year, just because the TBR is the main goal, but I definitely will be looking into it when I purchase books this year, and be looking into it more in future years. Then let's look at my books purchase. Okay, so during the second quarter of the year, I purchased 30 books. Not great. Really not great. I'm really trying to lower how many books I'm buying, so not great. 6 of them I purchased in April. Perfectly fine with. 6 books a month I think is quite a healthy amount for me and how much I read. 7 books in May, which is, you know, slightly over. It doesn't matter, it's 1 extra book. 17 books in June. Yeah, 17 books in June. I had shit mental health time. I brought a load of books. I don't have any, it's not an excuse, it's just what happened. I don't regret it. I brought a lot of books that are great. I also purchased a lot of books that I'd already read, like books that I given 5 stars to last year or this year and didn't own physically, and like I do like to collect books as well as just read books, and I like to have my favourite books on my bookshelf, so I don't know. Not surprising, but definitely more than I want. I'm going to try and get back down to being 6 or under again for the rest of the year. In terms of the books themselves, 53.3% of the books that I purchased were used, and 46.7% of the books that I purchased were new. I don't really have good statistics because I'm being so limited in the books I'm buying this year, or at least I was meant to be until June. I thought I would end up buying a lot more new books than I normally do, but previous years when I haven't been really limiting what I'm buying and also haven't been really trying to get down the TBR, I typically buy a lot more used books than I do new. But yeah, I don't have anything to compare it to, but that's how it's looking. And of those 30 books purchased, I have read 16 of them, so just over 50%, which is honestly much better than Q1. But I think a large reason why it is so much better is because a lot of them that I purchased, especially in June, were books that I'd already read and really wanted to have my own copy of. But either way, having read over 50% of the books I've purchased, like, I am happy with that, and it's definitely getting there. I'd like it to be higher, but it's getting there, and we're like making those movements to get there. And then I do like talking about anticipated releases in my statistics video, but to be quite honest, out of all of my anticipated releases from Q2, I only read 1 of them, so I don't have anything to tell. I really messed up with keeping up to date with them. I really let myself fall behind. I don't have anything to show, like I don't have any stats or anything with only having read 1 of them, so unfortunately not really much to update, but I read 1, which is better than none. Okay, best and worst time. The best book that I've read during Q2 of 2024 is Blind Spot. This is a non-fiction book, Blind Spot, exploring and educating on blindness. It was absolutely amazing. I loved it, I had a great time, I annotated so much of it, I learnt so much from it, and I really do feel like it has impacted me since I read it. Like, I think about it more than weekly. Like, I feel like saying daily is a bit too much, like I probably don't think about it daily, but it's definitely affected how I see things in my life. Like, it's definitely really educated me, and it really set out to do everything it said it was going to on the back. Like, really thoroughly enjoyed it. It will come up in a reading vlog. I'm working on a reading vlog. It's on hiatus at the moment, but when I pick up the rest of the books for it, it will eventually come out, and this is one of the books I've already read for it, and it was just great. Honestly, I would highly recommend it. It's affected a lot of ways that I even read. I picked up a book this week and I was reading it and I was like having a lot of thought about representation and what was being seen, and also like what it was commenting on, and I don't know if I would have had all of those thoughts if not for having previously read this book. And yeah, I'm sure I'll be talking about it a lot this year. I had an amazing time with it. Because it is coming up in a reading vlog, I won't go too in depth, but I'd highly recommend. And if you want to see my review before that, my Goodreads is always linked down below, and I did leave quite a thorough review of it. Then for worst book, none really stand out during Q2 as like definitely stand out worst. Like, there were no books that I hated. Like, in quarter one, when I thought of what was the worst book of the first quarter, it was just instant. There wasn't really any of that in quarter two, but as you would have seen from my star ratings that I showed near the start, there was one 2-star book and nothing below that. So the 2-star book was Sincerely, which is a poetry collection. I don't think it's a bad poetry collection. I think that you could pick this up and read it and love it, but I didn't. I think this poetry collection is very much based on what you personally want out of life, want out of relationships, want out of a partner, and I just don't feel the same way as the author in any of that, and I really did enjoy it. I really didn't. Like, a lot of books, even if you don't relate to it, even if you don't agree with it, you can still get something from it. It can still like do something past that. Like, even if you don't agree, you can still learn, you can still feel something, I guess is the best way to say it, especially with poetry. Like, I feel like even books that I'm not like 100% agreeing with or understand or can relate to, I can still get so much from, but this one didn't really like cross that line for me. It was very much, I can see if you want the same things, if you feel the same way as the author, you could like it, but for me personally, I didn't, and it was 2 stars, unfortunately. So yeah, those were my quarter 2 statistics. I really hope that you've enjoyed the video. I always enjoy doing these statistics video, mainly because I just enjoy looking at my statistics. I have only done one statistics page for quarter 2 in my reading journal. Like, the last quarter I did 2 pages, and I was just like, let's rein it in a bit, let's roll it back. But I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I really enjoy talking about it, and I really enjoy looking at it and analysing it. I don't know 100% what I'm going to do with these statistics videos moving forwards, because I definitely want to do a quarter 3. I definitely want to do a quarter 4, but I kind of want to like analyse them and compare them at some point, but I'm not sure how or when or what will be happening with that. But at some point I would really enjoy to do that, because I've been doing these quarterly statistics for a little while now, so so I'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that is it from me. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Please do give it a like if you liked it. Subscribe down below if you'd like to see more content like this, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye.